We move to politics, and details of a deal between the UK government and the DUP on import and export of goods has been revealed.
The Northern Ireland Secretary said the deal was right for the Union, but Sinn Féin says a united Ireland is now within touching distance.
In the studio with us, TalkTV's political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald and former ministerial advisor Leon Emirali. Thank you both so much for being here. Alicia, the deal, how did they come to it? What do we know?
So this has been going on for such a long time. All of this was a result of Boris Johnson's Brexit deal that the Democratic Unionist Party in Ireland were just really not happy with. They felt that they've just had different rules to abide by. They were kind of still using EU law when the rest of the UK had its own rules for trade and for the goods that get imported and exported from our country. So the issue there was mainly that they were subject to extra checks between the goods that came from the UK over to Northern Ireland. So now with this new deal, it seems that some legway has actually been made. Those checks will no longer happen, meaning they have a bit more free trade between the two countries. And now it also means, which is probably the most important thing for most people, that Northern Ireland's government might start up again because they were boycotting it for so long. So we have devolved governments across the UK. Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland all have their own little kind of sectors of government. And Northern Ireland just hasn't had it for so long. So now that can hopefully be restored and some kind of sanity within Northern Ireland's government can actually start to happen again.
We'll get on to the practical implications of what this power-sharing arrangement means and the potential political ones. But let's just talk about this trade deal for a moment, if that's all right, Leon. There are always winners and losers in a trade deal. Who's lost out to allow this trade deal to operate more smoothly for Northern Ireland, to the DUP's satisfaction?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think there tends to be give and take with these types of deals are made, but ultimately it sounds as though right now that everyone on pretty much every side are fairly content with the deal. The DUP are interpreting it as if it's a good thing for their objectives of being able to make sure that we do leave the European Union properly alongside the rest of Great Britain. Sinn Féin, of course, are going to be potentially in a position where they have a First Minister in Northern Ireland. This will be the first time that there's been a nationalist First Minister in Northern Ireland. So really, there is something for everyone in this deal. And I do think Rishi Sunak and Number 10 deserve a little bit of credit because they have made this a priority for the government and they seem to have made a fairly decent start on it.
It's something, then, Alicia, we can expect the Prime Minister will be saying, this is something I have actually managed to deliver.
Definitely, and do you know what? As Liam was saying, he can say that and actually feel probably quite proud about it, unlike some of the other promises.
But is he delivering a pathway to a united Ireland, which is obviously exactly what the Conservative and Unionist Party don't want?
Potentially. So as Leon was saying, there's always, with these kinds of agreements, there's always going to be some people who are happy and some people who are not. There's going to be people in the Democratic Unionist Party who are not happy. There will be some that are really happy. The same with the Brexiteers. There'll be some who are really happy with this deal and some who think it is really quite awful. So there's always going to be that kind of to and fro. But I think overall we can see that it's quite a positive move. I think the main priority for Rishi Sunak was just trying to restore...
Get some power sharing,
trying to restore the power sharing agreement and settlement in Northern Ireland. And I think that he can very much say he has done. I think what could maybe happen is a knock-on effect afterwards. He'll probably try and push off to whoever's in government after him, but for now he can very much say that he has kind of sparked that movement.
Yeah, I think it's less sort of a celebration but a sigh of relief, seems to be the general view. Leon, let's talk about the Labour Party because, well, this week, and I'm sure over the next few months as an election looms, they are very much trying to position themselves as the party for business. How credible do you think the pitch is?
It's a good question. I think that they are certainly more credible than the previous iteration of the Labour Party, certainly under Jeremy Corbyn. But there are still going to be question marks from a lot of voters who look at Keir Starmer, who look at Rachel Reeves and think, are they really people who champion business at their core? Neither of them have particularly extensive private sector experience. Neither of them have experience of running a business as perhaps Rishi Sunak does, or he's certainly made a lot of money in the world of finance, so he knows how business works. And I think voters will be looking at that and wondering, is Labour really a changed party? Because ultimately, unions are the ones who pay their wages, as it were. They're the ones who are their biggest donors. And are they really going to be conducive to a good business environment? But what I would say, Keir Starmer in his speech today is going to lay out productivity as one of the big problems in the UK economy.
And it is, isn't it?
He's absolutely diagnosed that spot on. The question is, what are his solutions to getting productivity back up and running?
This is the thing. I mean, Labour have been trying to focus on business all week, and they did say earlier this week that they were going to focus on investing in R&D. What that actually means, though, Alicia, isn't necessarily clear. They say they're going to set up all these schemes and they're like, what have you heard? Because you have to read the runes properly. What have you heard in terms of concrete proposals that the Labour Party have to make the business sector function properly?
Don't want to disappoint you, but not an awful lot, to be honest. Well, this is it. So they're doing this big speech today. Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, and Keir Starmer will be kind of doing this big kind of rallying speech about how they are the party for business and productivity, and saying that they need to increase productivity. As you say, though, we haven't actually had much concrete or any concrete policy about how you really do that.
Yeah.
Saying you're going to increase productivity.
If we knew how to increase productivity, you would have thought the Conservatives would have latched onto it by now.
Well, yeah, you would hope so, in the amount of time that they've been in
There is an
office.
argument for fresh ideas, fresh people, fresh perspectives.
Sure, and the other thing is that the Labour Party have received a lot of really positive endorsement from businessmen recently, business people. Lots of really important people have come forward and said they feel more comfortable with the Labour Party manning business, which
The boss
is
of Iceland, for
totally,
example,
you know,
yeah.
it's kind of unheard of, really. If you took that back 10 years, no one would have said that, really. It was always the Conservatives who were seen as the steady hand for business, for productivity, for growth. But just over the past few years, what we've seen is low growth, low productivity, and now the Labour Party can really use that to their advantage and say, well, hang on, anything's going to be better than what we've currently been seeing.
Just before you both go, Leon, a story this morning, the Justice Minister, Mike Freer, has said to the Prime Minister, actually, I'm going to be standing down at the next election, not because of anything to do with policy or politics, but because the threats he's facing as an MP means he's just said, I don't need to stand for this. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a really sad state of affairs that we've come to a point where, you know, by all means, a good MP has had to stand down because he doesn't feel safe. And I think for him in particular, in an area at Golders Green in his constituency, there are clearly tensions due to what's happening in Israel, what's happening with Gaza. But ultimately, whether you're a man, a woman or anyone else, it is not necessarily a comfortable place to be as a Member of Parliament. I think we have to be much better in treating our public servants with respect they deserve and ultimately providing them with the protection they deserve. It really is a sorry state of affairs.
Leon, Alicia, thank you both so much.